I study psychosomatics, which is basically the mind. Psychosomatics is the body connection. Now, it tells you that every single organ in your body, every single part of your body is actually communicating to you about something that it's feeling. The liver, which is one of the biggest organs in your digestive system, it's actually one of the biggest organs in your body, if not the biggest. Is it the biggest? I think it's the biggest in your body. And so it takes up the whole of the right side of your body. It is responsible for processing anger. Now, think about some of the people who get the most angry, right? So the liver, like I said, is an organ that's meant, it's meant to process anger in our own like human bodies or whatever. So we store anger in, actually, thank you, your skin is actually the biggest organ of the body, you're right. And so the liver, now, if you don't process anger in a healthy way, you don't understand it, you don't understand the right way to express it, communicate it, feel it. Anger, if it's understood, can be one of the most amazing fucking tools of life. You can have the best sex if you're able to channel your anger into expression with a partner. Trust me, that's the law of polarity, of like masculinity, femininity, how you can communicate feeling and use it for like a strong, powerful, opposing connection. So when you come back to the concept of the liver, right? Now, the liver, as I said, is meant to store anger. Think of some of the people who get the most angry. Alcoholics, right? They get angry, they get abusive, they get physically abusive, they get filled with rage. Now, scientifically, in terms of the nervous system, this is because when they're not drinking, they don't have the right space within themselves. They don't have the right conditioning. They have not had the right emotional understanding to be able to express or understand their anger. Now, what happens when you drink is, this is why drinking helps you remove social inhibitions, is because it removes that element of the ego that helps you like hide shit. Which is why when we drink, you'll want to drunk text your ex, you'll want to go do something stupid, you may either cry a lot. So what happens with people who are alcoholics who express it through anger is all the anger comes out uncontrollably. And so unfortunately, they tend to abuse people in their households, they get into fights, etc., because there's no like social inhibitor there. But the thing about them is, they are people who are so filled with anger that the alcohol pulls it out because it's removed that social inhibitor, like basically just comes straight out of them. What's the number one disease that they suffer from? Liver cirrhosis. And the biggest organ that processes anger is what? The liver. So psychosomatically, your liver has been telling you for so long, listen, there's a bigger fucking problem here, which is why you have the alcohol dependency. That you have something deep down inside, this anger, this frustration from your childhood, from the disappointment, from the recession, from losing your job, from breaking up with a partner, all of that you need to understand, you need to listen to, you need to communicate, you need to let go. Therapist or no fucking therapist, you need to have a way to be able to translate it and release it. And if you release it, not only does your liver stay more healthy, but you also have less of a dependency on alcohol, which also helps your liver stay more healthy. Now, it's crazy the way, psychosomatics like teaches us so much. But I want to answer someone's question. So they said, what is that huge pain in my chest that I'm feeling because of loss? So here's the magic of this. Now, they say that the heart and the chest, psychosomatically, they have to deal with grief the most. So grief is stored in our chest. So loss is stored in our chest. Now, here's something amazing when it comes to the emotion, right? The body doesn't know the difference in loss in a relationship or when someone dies. So what happens, and listen to this carefully, right? Now, how it processes, the moment you lose something, you lose something. What you're actually losing, which is why it hurts so much, is the attachment to the something. It's not just the something. You're losing your attachment to it, which is why the end of a relationship can be so fucking painful. In fact, for many people, the end of a relationship can be more painful than if someone died. And so that's because of our attachment to the person that we've lost, whether it's a relationship or whether it's death. Death just allows, in some way, can actually create more closure for us because there's no way you can have conversation with them, whereas relationships can like make us feel like, oh, there could be hope, etc., etc., etc. So now you can feel that same pain in your chest when you come out of a really big breakup or when you lose someone close to you in life. And this is what I want you to know, because it's something that you can understand to say, okay, then what it's telling me is that there is this huge element of grief that I need to understand and let go. Please listen to this. It doesn't mean that it's about the person. This is what happens. We're always like, oh my God, my heart's spinning so bad. I just lost this person. I need to reach back out to them. I need to send them a letter. I want them to know how I feel. I want them to come back in my life. That's not what your body's telling you to do. What your body is telling you to do is to listen to why it's so painful, why the attachment was so strong. It's telling you that, listen, baby boy, baby girl, baby person, baby child, your inner child, it's telling you, I feel you. I know you're hurting so badly. And I want you to listen to that pain. I want you to ask yourself, why is it so painful? Why is it so painful that they left? Why is it so painful that you don't have them around? What did they remind you of? How did they make you feel? What was the joy that came into your life? How did it elevate you? What did it mean to you? Those are all questions, and those are all things that belong to you. That person was just the stimulant or the reminder to make you feel a certain way, but all of those things belong to you. So when you understand that, that's actually how you start to create closure. By you understanding and listening to those things and not just thinking that that person is responsible for coming back and giving them to you or explaining them. When you start working through that, you're actually going through the different stages of grief. One of the first stages is actually to feel the pain. Whether you like it or not, we are made as human beings that live on a spectrum. Joy and sadness both are on the same spectrum. They exist in the same spectrum of our emotions, and we're meant to feel them, because a sad day can make a joyful day feel fucking amazing when you get one. And that's why we're not meant to shame any of our motherfucking emotions, which is also what we tend to do. Toxic positivity, I mean, I used to be someone who was like that just because it was easy for me to like just be really positive and optimistic. I'm also like extremely Sagittarian. But I realized that it was because I was unconsciously shaming my sadness. I was unconsciously suppressing my anger. And so it would take away from my connection. It would take away from my truth. It would take away from me asking for what I wanted. It would take away from me saying I don't like something. Why? Because I didn't want to get angry. So being able to dive into those feelings and feel them when you feel grief allows you to process it. And then it also allows you to start letting it go, because it's not holding on to you anymore. It's not weighing on to you. Bit by bit, you're taking it and you're putting it apart. You're taking it and you're putting it apart. Then you start to see that that grief and that loss with that person is a stage in your life where you had an attachment. They gave you something, you felt something from them, and you let it go. Why? Because the one thing that is yours, no matter who you've lost, and this is, someone asked me that question, is like, what does it mean to you? It means all the emotions that you felt with them, those were your emotions, right? Did anyone come and put those emotions inside of you? No. They brought those emotions out of you. They triggered those emotions out of you in different ways, happiness, sadness, like joy, attachment, whatever. But you were feeling those things, which means you have the emotions, which means you can reproduce these either with another type of connection, which you first need to create a connection with yourself before you create a dependency on someone else, or with different things around you, which is why loving yourself is one of the most valuable things, because you start to understand, how can I produce these different feelings? Therefore, what is the best place for me to go for this kind of emotion, this kind of emotion, this kind of emotion? It also makes you realize that when you love someone, it's not the same as just being attached to them. Because when you love someone, you accept when they can't show up for you. Whereas when you're attached to someone, you're disappointed when they can't show up for you. You're disappointed when they don't give you the validation that your childhood wounds also have not given you. And so it continues a pain and a shame cycle when you're attached to someone. But when you love someone, you recognize that you can give so much of that yourself. You can recognize that you don't have to have an attachment to how they show up or they don't show up, because now you're so much more capable of your own emotions and your own space.